Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Emobility Congress South Africa coffee session with Emcsa. This morning, I'm joined by Mr. Tanaka Kutama. Tanaka, welcome to this coffee session. You're joining us all the way from Zimbabwe. Thank you for taking the time, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I think it's a great platform for us to make our voice heard in terms of the e-mobility sector here in Africa.
Fantastic. So Tanaka, give us a little quick introduction about yourself and your involvement in e-mobility and what you've been busy with, so we can all get to know you a bit better.
Okay. Basically, I'm a qualified business development consultant, but I specialize mostly in the transport industry, both aviation and road and obviously vehicle manufacturing. I've worked for a Japanese company from 2015 until 2018. We're doing import and export of vehicles. I'm a big enthusiast in terms of hybrids and electric vehicles and renewable energy in the transport industry. I've been doing that for the past 15 years, basically.
Fantastic. So obviously you've been involved in the transition. I know from your bio that you are part of the steering committee and a member of the Zimbabwe EV policy making committee. Talk us a little bit through about what's happening in Zimbabwe, just north of us here in South Africa. Okay,
basically in Zimbabwe early last year, we started developing a policy, an electric mobility policy, whereby what we want to do is we want to introduce incentives. We want to introduce easy adoption policies, such as tax-free and tax-free for EV drivers, toll gate discount, insurance discount. So it's a policy that's going to be on a government level, whereby each private sector and parastatal will need to own an electric vehicle. It's actually going to be a law here in Zimbabwe, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to meet the 2030 target set by the UNEDP, and also we've got our own target by 2025, because we've got a national strategy development program that we're actually doing here in Zimbabwe to go green, to make sure that all our energy is going to be green, all our vehicles are going to be green, all our transportation is going to be green. So this policy has been in development since last year. We are actually at the later stages at the moment. We are waiting to go into Parliament to present it. We acquired consultants called Mobility for Africa. They've been doing tests, they've been doing research all over Zimbabwe. Not only Zimbabwe, they've done research also in Kenya. They've also done research in Rwanda. So they've been assisting us in making this e-mobility policy. What we wanted is to be, the trade centers to say we're one of the first countries in the continent to have a fully approved EV policy by the government, and probably establish a ministry for that sector.
Fantastic. So, I mean, it's obviously great that someone like yourself is on that steering committee, and that sounds like a very ambitious policy. It sounds, dare I say, very aggressive in terms of what Zimbabwe is doing. So that's all very exciting. I know that you're also involved in a website called Zim Talk. You give us a little bit of a background. What is Zim Talk all about?
Okay, Zim Talk started off as an online magazine. We're doing car events. We did close to 35 car events here in Zimbabwe, and we also recently transitioned to obviously to e-mobility, which is Emobility Traders, which is an online website that strictly sells low to zero emission vehicles. Because what we're doing is we're trying to, there's early adopters that own these vehicles. Currently, OEMs haven't been offering a range of vehicles. Only South Africa has offered Jaguar and BMW. I know Volvo and all those other brands are going to start coming in next year, but currently only Jaguar and BMW has been the OEMs that we have known that are offering EVs. In Ethiopia, I understand the Hyundai Ioniq is being assembled there. So only in Africa we've had 3 OEMs. So when we started the e-mobility traders, it was just to have a different range of vehicles for people that want to buy or import these vehicles into Zimbabwe or any other country in Africa. That is your Tesla, your Nissan, your Peugeot, your Mercedes. So we're just concentrating on trying to help people that want electric vehicles at this moment until OEMs officially launch them.
Fantastic. So talk to us a little bit of what are some of the challenges facing EV ownership in Zimbabwe in particular. I mean, what are, is there public charging infrastructure? What are some of the challenges in particular in Zimbabwe that EV owners face?
Well, basically the charging infrastructure, there's not much yet. We've only placed 5 chargers in the whole of Zimbabwe, which is Harare, Mutare, Gweru and Bulawayo. And obviously technical support, the backup support is very limited. We only have one technical advisor here in Zimbabwe. He was trained in America. He's got all the certifications for hybrid and electric vehicle. And currently, recently, BYD actually opened a full EV center and dealership here in Zimbabwe, which is one of the first first dealerships in Zimbabwe for electric vehicles. And BYD is going to be offering right-hand drive, which will be the first also globally, because they were offering left-hand drive. So we're proud to have such a dealership here in Zimbabwe because of their blade battery technology, which has been quite popular all over the world. So I feel like the two drawbacks we have is probably the charging infrastructure and proper technical support. However, electricity is a problem in Africa, which is, people still complain about that. But I don't see it as a major drawback. That's why I didn't mention it, because these vehicles offer vehicle to grid, they offer vehicle to house. So you can charge it using solar. There's a lot of solar systems around Zimbabwe. We're actually in Zimbabwe, even before the policy, if you have a solar system, you're actually allowed to feed back to the grid and you get paid for that. So that's what we said. We're encouraging everyone to go green, either your house or your car. So for electricity, for me, it's not a drawback. Only the two drawbacks is charging infrastructure and proper technical support.
So do you see in your experience and your knowledge around Zimbabwe that most of the EV charging is going to be at-home charging? So people putting a solar system into their house together with an at-home charger to charge at home, more than the push towards public infrastructure? In your mind, is that where things are going to head in Zimbabwe?
Yes. That's what we've been encouraging at most, because of the vehicle to grid. We're trying to extract as much power we can from renewable energy. That is, let's say, for example, you own a Nissan Leaf that does 100 Ks to a full charge, and then your commute is only maybe 40 Ks, meaning you still have 60% of battery left, in which from 60%, 20% of that battery left, you can send it back to the grid, which can be used for the industries, for the big industries. So we're going to be encouraging mostly home charging more than public charging. Obviously, because let's say, for example, you buy a Tesla that does 500 Ks to a full charge. Driving from city to city, most of our cities are 400 to 500 Ks apart. So public charges would be quite a few, as opposed to home charging. So we've actually been in talks with a company called Wallbox. It's quite a popular company in Spain. We've actually acquired quite a few smart chargers from them, and a lot of people here that own EVs have been very happy with the system. So I foresee home charging being very popular here in Zimbabwe.
Fantastic. And I think that's a way to almost speed up the transition. So instead of people worrying about public infrastructure, if they've got home charging, then 60% of their daily commute can be taken care of by their home charging. So talk to us a little bit, Zimbabwe's first EV dealership that you're involved in, that you mentioned earlier, BYD. How long has that been open for, and how's it going?
They've been open for the past 3 months. They've been doing very well. They've actually sold about 10 vehicles as we speak to even the government. So they've been doing very well. Obviously, the price has been a challenge. Electric vehicles at the moment, they're not very affordable to many. But we are trying our best, like all dealerships involved, to try and make them affordable for early adoption. We've recently actually been bought in by a company from South Africa called Agility. So we've been discussing with them to come up with credit facilities for people to be able to buy an electric vehicle for quick transition, because early adoption is very important at the moment for people to understand that electric vehicles can actually be affordable in the long run. And obviously, tomorrow being World EV Day, we're actually making our presence known that, look, we are not only representing Zimbabwe, but also Africa. So we are trying our best to get the word out there.
Fantastic. And Tanaka, as we kind of draw to the end of our quick chat, talk to me, where do you see the immediate future with EVs, particularly in Zimbabwe? I mean, you've obviously mentioned some of the ambitious goals the government has, 2025 and 2030. Where do you see the next 12, 24 months of EVs in Zimbabwe going? What's your kind of look into the crystal ball? What can you see what do you see happening in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, from what we see is we're very happy that the government is heavily involved, and they've already started purchasing the vehicles and they have started purchasing the chargers. So that means our government is the biggest purchaser of vehicles. Obviously, the private sector, they do buy, but the government sector, because they need vehicles for hospitals, they need vehicles for the police stations, and they've already started buying the vehicle. Even our electricity provider, they've actually put out a tender to purchase 100 electric vehicles, which will be the response vehicles for them. And then our regulatory authority already has bought an electric car. That's what they use. And they plan on buying 50. So I see in the next 24 months, ownership of electric vehicles in Zimbabwe may be getting up to 30% of the driving population.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds like a very ambitious goal, and I think with someone like yourself, involved, who's very passionate, I wish you all the very best of luck. Any final thoughts that you would like to leave with us before we call it an end to our session?
Well, I think these conferences will help look Africa, because we've been left out in a lot of technology, like all over the world, because we just regard it as the last resort. But I feel this is our time to spearhead this. Number one, we've got the most sunlight of all continents. We can take advantage of that. And number two, we've got, look, in Zimbabwe, we've got lithium. We can mine lithium. We can actually start manufacturing batteries to export outside of Africa. So Africa has the key to transition to e-mobility. And I think it's the only way we can attract investment in terms of that. And we can create jobs through the use of solar and electric vehicles. So I feel African countries should come together, even come up with an e-mobility summit to push through this transition.
Fantastic. Well, Tanaka, thank you very much for taking the time to join us this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on with us. From myself, Rob at Emcsa, thank you for taking the time to join us all the way from Zimbabwe, and we look forward to seeing your progress in the weeks and months ahead. So thank you very much for taking the time, sir.
All right, no problem. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So that was Tanaka Katama from Zimbabwe, giving us an update on the e-mobility movement in Zimbabwe and his involvement in the various policy decisions. I think some very ambitious goals there for Zimbabwe, some big timelines, and obviously government's playing a huge role in that push. It's very exciting to hear what they're doing, and with people like him who are motivating and pushing it, we wish them all the best of luck. From all of us here at Emcsa, we hope you enjoyed our coffee session, and we will chat to you soon next time. Tune in again for another one. Thank you. Goodbye.